Hello, I'm Dr. Ron England, and I'm going to prepare you to have a successful web project. So, what we're talking about when we're talking about web projects is actually a project where you're going to be working as a team and producing a final web system for a client. So, right off the bat, you need to look at the big picture, the broad overview. And in most cases, you're going to want to meet with the client before you do this, because you're going to have to find out some information, such as what types of users are you going to have. In many of the projects, you may have administrators and users, and then sub-administrators, and then group administrators. You need to know this. Got to get that big picture overview of what else is going to be there. And what kind of features do you need to administer all those users? Now, the beauty of this is that having done a lot of these, I've saved a lot of templates which actually fit different types of user demands. And also a lot of the Microsoft templates that come with it, because I do a lot of these in .NET, also have a lot of this already just built in. So as soon as you have the idea of what you need, you pick out the right template, you put it there. Otherwise, you're going to build it. What level of security? Now, when you talk to a client, every client thinks they have the hugest security needs, but the reality is if you're not storing social security numbers, bank routing numbers, credit card numbers, your security needs are probably not that huge, because you're just not going to be a target for people to attack. So look at the worst case scenario. Do you need a secure site or non-secure site? But don't overdo the security depending upon what is actually in your site. When you do have a need for a high level of security, then that's what you've got to implement, realizing that there's a cost. So you know this overall objective, but now the last part is you got to know about, what about maintenance? Maintenance is a huge part of most websites. Your client, they're going to be depending upon you forever to maintain this site with no real money to put into it, or they've got a plan for how this is going to be implemented and then maintained over time. Maintenance should be, and maintenance is often 30 to 50% of the project. So there's a lot to go with maintenance, and you need to get all this documented and know what you're stepping into. Once you've gotten all those questions out there, you're going to have to make some choices. And the team will make choices like, well, how am I going to build this? I'm going to build it in .NET. If I am building it in .NET, what templates am I going to use? Am I going to do it in Web Forms or MVC or some other type of technology? What kind of database am I connecting to in the back end? I mean, what am I going to be able to maintain? How complex is this database going to be, and what level of security am I going to have? And then I got to know, what's my hosting budget? I'm not going to be hosting this forever myself, so I got to know where I'm going to be hosting it and how. What level of security do I need with that hosting, and who is going to be there at that company or whoever that client is going to be maintaining it? Other choices like, how am I going to manage the project myself? Am I going to be doing code management with Git and SVN? I'm going to have repositories. Is that repository going to go to the client? All questions that you want to get answered right up front. So that's a big, broad overview. But eventually you're going to make a decision and you're going to be able to start development. So here's my methodology for development, and it works very well. And it's actually just a take on agile development. First thing that I do is I meet with the client and I come up with some paper-based ideas of what they want the system to look like and do. And I usually do these on paper. And I actually get the client involved in this whole process of developing them. Once I know what pieces I'm going to have on paper, I start looking at, well, how am I going to name these? I've got naming schemes that I use. Like if I'm going to be editing something, the screen that does it is usually edit whatever it is, manage whatever it is, create whatever it is. You know, that's a common naming scheme that I stick to and I enforce with my web project. I get all the basic requirements for each individual screen. Those first parts are all, those first manage, edit, and all those are basically commonalities, so that I know that every time I look at an edit screen, it edits something. And then once I got this done, I actually go in, get my project up and running, make sure everybody is up on the code management so that they all have access to it. And I have one person responsible for building the shell of each and every screen. Not all the details that are inside, that gets assigned to the individual developers on your team, but actually building the framework of the whole thing. So those screens get built. Then, step 3, the testing. Okay, every time a developer tests a screen, they need to have an ability to actually just bug it, debug it, and make sure that it is completely bug-free. But then you've got another phase of testing, and that developer testing is really not to make sure, I mean, you're going to have a basic set of specifications. You save this information to the database, you get the information back. The tester testing is, well, let's go back to those requirements and make sure that the fields that I have are what they are, and that they behave the way they need to behave, and that they have the right type of filters on them, that this is the only thing that can get into the database. And then go to the end user and say, hey, is this actually what I intended the system to do? And the more you stay tight with the end user on this, the less change management you're going to have later on to deal with. So those screens should be building as you go along. And somebody is building screens and getting them developers to polish them out. Finally, refine. Really what you're doing here is once that end user has a chance to look at that, you're going to go back to that specification, do some changes, keep the old specification so you've got change management going into effect, but refine that specifications based on what because the user doesn't always know exactly what they need until they see it, and repeat all those steps through until the screens all do what they do. That is the inner loops of each of the individual screens. You're also going to do the whole thing, the whole process, on an outer loop, which is the entire system. If you can successfully do all this, then you should have a very successful web project. I can give you plenty of examples of the way that I do a lot of these, and those will be on the page that goes with this lecture. But I want to make this short and sweet to get you up and running and understand, let's get this project going. Here's what you need to do. Thank you very much, and good programming.